going to learn the anatomy of the autonomic nervous system. We're going to learn the two key neurotransmitters that are present in the autonomic system, which is acetylcholine and norepinephrine nervous system. I'm sure you already learned a little bit for the CNS. Then you need to know how the norepinephrine and acetylcholine is synthesized, released, and degraded in the autonomic nervous system. And also we're going to touch a little bit on the sequential transduction of the neurotransmitter and the receptors in the autonomic nervous system that controls the movement of the limbs. Okay, so let's start with the structure of the nervous system. So the nervous system is divided into the two divisions based on the location of the system. So you already learned the central nervous system, which includes the brain and the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is complicated. It contains 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. The peripheral nervous system can be further divided into autonomic nervous system and the sensory somatic nervous system based on the function. The autonomic nervous system can be further divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic system. So the autonomic system is not a structured division, it's a functional division of the peripheral nervous system, okay? The autonomic nervous system controls the movement of smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and brain cells. As I said, it's involuntary. And the sensory somatic nervous system is voluntary. It controls the skeletal muscle movement. So how does the CNS and the PNS communicate and control the actions? So in general, the CNS receives the information, all the sensory information from the peripheral. Okay, so the sensory neurons contains a lot of receptors on the skin, in different parts of the body. So the receptor receives the signal, then and initiate the signal transduction and send the information to the CNS saying, hey, we have external stimuli. Okay, so once the information is in the brain, it gets interpreted and processed and sent back to the peripheral nervous system. So when it's sent back to the motor neuron, okay, in the peripheral nervous system. And the motor neuron usually innervate different parts of the organ in the body. So then set signals that you need to react. Okay, so we have somatic, we have autonomic system. So and then the controls the sympathetic and parasympathetic controls the balance of the movement. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the sensory somatic nervous system. So this system controls the sensory and motor neurons. So basically, it receives information, sends information, and also send information to the different part of the organs. So if you look at here, if there's external stimulus or internal stimulus, the sensory neuron send information to the central nervous system here, and then get processed. Then the CNS send information through the motor neurons in response to the stimuli. Okay, so this part are all voluntary somatic nervous system under the autonomic system also contains the sensory neurons and motor neurons, but the mechanism are different. We'll talk about it a little bit in the next few slides. So, if we go back to here, so we have this voluntary movement, send information to the CNS, and CNS send the information back. And so here the autonomic system is in control, is responsible for monitoring conditions in response to the stimuli and making appropriate changes in them so it can be balanced, so you don't overdo it. Does it make sense? So it's kind of a self-protection mechanism. Okay, so if, let's say, in a stress situation, the norepinephrine is released, a lot of organs is overexcited, then the autonomic system functions as counteract effect, so the system doesn't get overactivated. Does it make sense? Okay, so a lot, if you read the books, some people call this as the feedback mechanism, which is counteract the overstimulation. There are three major types of cells in the autonomic nervous system. A small muscle cell, usually this is widespread, yes.
So the graph is what this now?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So then, within central nervous system of external environment, is it physiologic system or autonomic?
This one here?
Yeah, you have this neuron.
The sensory neuron and the motor neuron, they are in both the somatic nervous system and autonomic system. Okay, so next few slides you can see they are present in both systems. Okay, there are three types of cells in the autonomic nervous system. One is the smooth muscle cell, it's widespread, it's in the blood vessel, it's in the GI tract, it's in the bladder, eyes, and then the second type is the cardiac muscle cells in the heart and gland cell. It's involuntary, and again, the mechanism for stimulating effectors is different from the sensory somatic nervous system. So, does anybody know why the autonomic system is voluntary? Like, what is the mechanism? Why it's involuntary? Can you tell? Just take it. And it's controlled by what?
What, the brainstem?
Huh?
The brainstem?
So it's the lower part of the brain, yes. So it's the lower part of the brain. It does not process up top to the brain. So it's fast, so it does not require complicated processing of the information. So it's voluntary. Okay. There are two types of neurons in the autonomic nervous system. What's called a pre-ganglionic neurons. The other is called a post-ganglionic neurons. So what is ganglion? The ganglion is the collection of nerve cell bodies located in the PNS, right here. I consider this as a synapse. If you think about CNS, okay? You guys know what synapse is, right? So it's one neuron project to another neuron, they form a synapse. So basically it's a nerve terminal from one neuron innervate the other, the cell body of another neuron. So if you look at this, they call it autonomic ganglion. Basically it's one type of neuron project to this side and then innervate the cell body of the second neuron. Okay? So it doesn't call it synapse because it's not in the brain, but this is called autonomic ganglion. Okay, it's all the connection of the cell body located in the trunk in parallel to the spinal cord. I'm going to show you in the next couple of slides. So the preganglionic neuron neuron originate from the spinal cord and project to this ganglion. Okay, the ganglionic neurons are the cells with a cell body in the peripheral ganglion and projecting axons to the effector, which are the peripheral organs. Okay? Understand? Okay. So, compared to the preganglionic neurons, the postganglionic neurons has a slow firing rate because this neurons, the axons, is not myelinated. Okay? So here, the neurons originating from the spinal cord to the autonomic ganglion, majority of the time, neurons are myelinated, so it has a faster firing rate. And the postganglionic neuron has a slow firing rate. Okay, here to answer your question, here again illustrated two projection pathway. One is for the autonomic nervous system, the other is for somatic system. Again, if you look at this pathway, you have the first neuron originating from the spinal cord, the preganglionic neurons, and project and innervate the second neuron at this peripheral ganglionic side. Okay, and this second neuron project directly to the effector, which is organs. You know, there are receptors on the organs. Once the transmitters are released, then you can either activate or inhibit the receptor, cause the muscle, constriction or relaxation. Depends on what receptor and what neurotransmitter we're talking about. So the autonomic system involves two cells for this projection, okay, to occur, for the movement to occur. For the somatic nervous system, it's a one-cell system. So you have the cell originate from the spinal cord here and project directly to the effector. Okay, so this is also this is a motor neuron, in the somatic nervous system, and this is also a motor neuron in the somatic nervous system. Okay, there are two individual systems. Okay, here's the summary of the difference in the autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system. So for the autonomic system, it's a two-cell system. It has a pre- and post-ganglion neurons. And for the somatic, it's one cell, but both of the cells are originating from the CNS, the spinal cord or brainstem. Okay. For the autonomic system, there's ganglia, and somatic does not have ganglia. The autonomic nervous system can be excitatory or inhibitory, depends on what neurotransmitter and what receptor subtype are located on the effector cells. Okay. Somatic nervous system most of the time is excitatory. Autonomic system controls the movement of the smooth cell, cardiac muscle, and gland cell. And the somatic nervous system controls the skeletal muscle. So, and also, again, autonomic system is involuntary and somatic is voluntary. Autonomic system, if you look at the postganglionic neurons, the firing rate is slow because it does not have much myelination. And for the somatic nervous system, the neurons firing rate are faster because it's heavily myelinated. Okay? So the autonomic system is functionally divided into two divisions, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Okay, this division are bilateral on both sides. So every side has a sympathetic and parasympathetic system. And majority of the organs in the body are innervated by both sympathetic and parasympathetic system. The function of these two systems are intact. The function of the parasympathetic system sympathetic system, again, we talk about the preganglionic motor neurons arise in the spinal cord, and they project to the sympathetic ganglion, which are organized into, two chains on both sides of the body that are parallel to the spinal cord. So you have a spinal cord here, and this peripheral ganglion trunk is in parallel to the spinal cord. Okay, so you have two peripheral ganglion trunk on both sides of your body. Okay? The spinal cord, the sympathetic fiber projection can be categorized into the following three. So if you look at, I don't know how much you can see. So you have this neurons originating from spinal cord, and it project here, and project into the second neurons, and then the postganglion neurons is innervate the organs. So this neuron come out at the same level of the starting point. So basically they're projecting laterally, almost at the same level. Okay. So the second projection route is that if you look at two here, so this fibers, neurons, can move up and down, okay, and innervate neurons that are up level or lower level. So so they can innervate the organs that is above where the neuron originates. Does it make sense? Okay, so when I'm saying that is, let's say if you look at a T1 here, okay, so this neuron originates from the T1 section, and it can innervate here, right? So this is the same level, but you can see there's alternative projection site for the T1, for the neuron originated from T1. They can move up and form a synapse with the second neuron that has the upper position, and also you can have neurons that project to lower position like this one here. Okay, so the neuron projection, in addition to project, same level laterally, can also project up and lower. And the third projection pathway is that if you look at this here, so the neuron project, and it basically come out of this projection route and innervate a different ganglion. So out of the original projection pathway and form synapse with projection from the other side, from the other neuron projection. So this is complicated. And the reason that there are so many projections, well, not the reason, so the consequence of so many projection pathway is that for the peripheral nervous system, every organ is innervated by many different neurons. So for the CNS, relatively speaking, it's only one type of neuron is innervated by a few, but here we're talking about many peripheral neurons that can innervate the same organ. Okay, so the sympathetic nervous system, we call it fight and flight response. It's activated when you are in an emergency. Let's say if you are taking a test, if you are embarrassed, if you are excited, your sympathetic nervous system gets excited. The neurotransmitter in this system is acetylcholine in the preganglionic projection pathway, and norepinephrine is the neurotransmitter system in the postganglionic pathways. So when the norepinephrine is released, let's go back and talk about how this works. Okay, so you have this the preganglionic system, and you have the postganglionic system. Okay, so in the pre system, acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter, and here is norepinephrine is a transmitter. So when there's external stimuli and acetylcholine is released, okay? So the neuron get excited and acetylcholine is released at the nerve terminal, then acetylcholine is going to activate the receptor on the cell body of the second neuron. Follow me? Yes.
Is acetylcholine the neurotransmitter in any given preganglionic neural
Yes.
connection? So
Yes.
it doesn't matter if it's sympathetic, parasympathetic, or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. It's does not matter what system it is, but the sympathetic system, the parasympathetic system is only activated after the sympathetic system is activated, right? Okay, because it counteracts the stimulation of the system, right? So if there's no stimulation, why your parasympathetic system is activated? Does it make sense? Okay, so acetylcholine is in this part, projection site, and once it's released, it acts on the receptors on the second neuron, the cell body of the second neuron, and then once this neuron is excited, the norepinephrine is released and act on the receptor on the effector. Okay, so when norepinephrine is released, stimulate heartbeat. You have increased heartbeat. You have increased blood pressure. The pupil is dilated. Bronchi is dilated, and the glucose synthesis is increased because of the demand of the energy when you're getting excited. Okay, the blood is pulled to the skeletal muscle, to the brain, to the heart, so you can have vigorous activity. You don't have too much blood. The blood is pulled away basically from your stomach, from your gut, because the digestion system is basically inhibited. The GI tract movement is decreased, and also the bladder movement is a decrease. So basically your body is prepared for the emergency. The activation of the sympathetic system is general. As I said, one single preganglionic neurons usually synapse with many postganglionic neurons. So there's no one-to-one ratio. Okay, not like in the CNS, a lot of times it's 1-to-1. This is 1 to many, 20, 30. So when the norepinephrine is released in the bloodstream, you get a mass activation because the multiple organs are stimulated in a short period of time, okay, and in force because the norepinephrine is released so much. And also, we're going to talk a little about adrenal gland. Adrenal gland is a modified cluster of the postganglionic cell bodies that release norepinephrine and epinephrine into the blood. So when norepinephrine is released into the blood from the adrenal gland, it has no selectivity. It basically, once it's rushed into the bloodstream, it's going to activate all the autonomic nervous system, all So by this means, the sympathetic nervous system has no selectivity, has no specificity. When the norepinephrine is released in the bloodstream, your body organs, almost all the organs are activated due to the norepinephrine released in the blood. So, in contrast, the parasympathetic nervous system is to counteract the stimulation of the sympathetic system. So we call this a rest and digest function. So each preganglionic sympathetic neurons synapse with just a few postganglionic neurons, which are located near or in the effector organs or in a muscle or a gland. Acetylcholine is the only neurotransmitter at the pre- and the postsynaptic ganglionic neurons, at pre- and the postganglionic neurons. Some postganglionic neurons release nitric oxide as their neurotransmitter, and some release norepinephrine, which is not common, it's rare. So the function of the parasympathetic is to counteract the sympathetic system. So when the parasympathetic system is activated, it basically slow down the heartbeat, lowering the blood pressure and constrict the pupil and increase blood flow to the skin, to the gut, and increase the movement of the GI tract. So basically, when the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, the purpose of the activation is to restore the body to the normal condition. So the stimulation of the sympathetic system is not going to be prolonged and desensitized. Okay, this is a feedback mechanism to counteract the stimulation of the sympathetic system. Okay, so as I said earlier, every single organ is innervated by both sympathetic and parasympathetic system. For the sympathetic system, if you look at on the side, this is the sympathetic system. So the neurons, the preganglionic neurons, originate from thoracic, from T1 to T12, and also include two lumbar segments of the spinal cord. Okay, so basically it has 12 nerves, 12 cranial nerves, and 2 spinal nerves here. Okay, and for the parasympathetic system, basically there are 4 cranial nerves, and there are 4 also sacrospinal cord nerves. So compared to the sympathetic system, parasympathetic system is relatively less complicated. Okay, so a few points I want to make here is that compared to the parasympathetic system, the neurons from the sympathetic system project. When single neuron, let's say, if you look at here, it project to many peripheral ganglions. Look at all the project, and innervate many different organs. Okay, but if you look at the projection from the parasympathetic system, it innervate 1 or 2 peripheral ganglions and innervate 1 or 2 organs. So this is way there's some blood vessel, it's also not innervated by the parasympathetic system. Okay, so here's the summary of the functional difference, the counteractive effect. You guys can read it. So just remember, parasympathetic system is to counteract the stimulation of the sympathetic system to the effectors. Okay, so as I said, the autonomic nervous system is involuntary because the control center is the lower region of the brain. The hypothalamus is the primary brain region that controls the autonomic nervous system. So it basically, the stimuli, once the stimuli project to the hypothalamus, then it can integrate and regulate, a lot of stuff. But keep in mind is that the hypothalamus is the control center, and because it's such a lower level as a brainstem, it does not require complicated processing, so it's involuntary. That's all you need to remember. Let's talk a little bit about autonomic reflexes or visceral reflexes. So this reflexes, there are many components for this reflex to occur. So the first component is you need a sensory receptors, such as here you have receptors on your skin, and you can sense, let's say the high temperature, the burn or the cold, and once that information, once the receptor receives that information, it requires the sensory neuron to project that information to the spinal cord. So basically, this is a sensory neuron project to the spinal cord, and for the information processing, then this information gets relayed through the motor neuron back to the effector, so you have a retraction of your hand due to the burn. Okay, so for every reflexes in the autonomic system, you need a receptor that senses the information. You need a sensory neuron to send information to the spinal cord. You need a spinal cord hypothalamus to process information. Then you need a motor neuron to relay the information and directly innervate the receptors on the effectors, so to cause the movement. Okay, so the other thing I'm not going to talk about is the high blood pressure control. That is called barometer reflex control. I think when Anne talks about the heart, she will talk about it. So basically, also you have a sensory receptor, the same thing that control the blood pressure and the heartbeat. And here again, a detailed diagram for the spinal reflex. The thing I said, if you get poked by something, then you have a receptor on your skin and sense the information. Then the sensory neuron send information to the spinal cord, it gets processed, then send the information back to the motor neuron and activate the receptors, and then we have this reflex to get your hand off the object. So there are many diseases associated with autonomic nervous system dysfunction, and but it's really hard to diagnose because you really don't know whether it's purely coming from the dysregulation of the autonomic system, or is it secondary effect of the dysregulation of the CNS, or even some peripheral system damage. So it's rare that patients can be diagnosed for just a pure dysfunction of the autonomic system. So, but the symptoms usually are the elevated blood pressure, the heart rate is irregular, had a problem breathing, swallowing, dysregulation of the body temperature, hence, perspiration, and dysregulation of the bowel movement, fatigue, and even cognitive impairment. One of the disease that is associated with autonomic nervous system is also static intolerance. Basically, the patient does not have ability to control the blood from the volume to the brain. So when they stand up, they couldn't. They feel dizzy, then they faint. Okay, this is due to blood circulation, how fast, and how far the blood can circulate to the brain. And another disease that is associated with the autonomic system is called autonomic dysreflexia. So this is a potentially life-threatening condition involving the spinal cord injury. Most of the time is at the T6 above, if there is a spinal cord injury, and there are reports that it could also happen below the T6, even down to the T10. So what happens is that the sensory neuron far at the bottom sense the stimuli. Let's say you have the back is broken or the spinal cord is broken, and the sensory neuron sense the stimuli and triggers the mass stimulation of the autonomic nervous system. So you have tons of norepinephrine which release at the lower part, T6 below. Then it sends feedback information and say, okay, we have activated sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic system needs to be activated. So above 6, you have the parasympathetic system is hyperactivated, intending to counteract the activated sympathetic system below. However, the information cannot be communicated because you have a broken spinal cord. There's no information can be passed on, no information can be passed out. So you have this awkward situation that your parasympathetic system is upregulated above T6, your sympathetic system is upregulated below the T6, and the body does not know how to control, so it ends up with a stroke, seizure, and very dangerous situation or heart attack. Okay, so we talked about there are two key neurotransmitters in the autonomic system, norepinephrine and acetylcholine. So there are two types of neurons based on what neurotransmitter is released. For the neurons that release acetylcholine, they are cholinergic neurons. For the neurons that release norepinephrine, they are adrenergic neurons. So as we said, the adrenergic neurons are mostly postganglionic neurons. So it's in the sympathetic system. So you have preganglionic neurons that release acetylcholine, act on the receptors, nicotinic receptors, so the neuron get excited, and then once the neurons get excited, norepinephrine can be released and act on the receptor on the effectors. Okay. For the cholinergic neurons, you have here the acetylcholine is released here and act on the nicotinic receptor, and here the second neuron gets activated and acetylcholine released again, and the released acetylcholine activate the muscarinic receptor that's located on the effectors. Okay, so for the sympathetic nervous system, norepinephrine is a neurotransmitter. When I say norepinephrine, we're talking about the postganglionic neurons that directly activate the receptor on the effector, cause the movement of the organs. The parasympathetic nervous neuron neuron gets stimulated, these vesicles dock to the plasma membrane, fused with the plasma membrane, and the vesicles open and let all the neurotransmitter release. Okay, so there's a docking process here. Once the neurotransmitter is released, acetylcholine is released, it can be either bind to the receptors here and stimulate transduction, which is the movement occurs. Okay, either constriction or relaxation. That's the mechanism for the muscle movement. Okay, some of the acetylcholine is breaking down into acetate and a choline, and the choline can be reuptake back into the nerve terminal and for synthesis of acetylcholine again. Okay, so this is a reuptake process, basically terminate the acetylcholine signaling transduction. This is basically initiate the signal. Once it's binding to the receptor, initiate the signal transduction. But once it's breaking down and then recycle back, it terminated the signal transduction. Okay. And also, yeah, this is degradation pathway. Okay. So the enzyme involved into the acetylcholine synthesis is called choline acetyltransferase. So there are drugs that specifically target this synthesis process. So if there's too much acetylcholine, you can use inhibitors to reduce the content of the synthesis. The enzyme involved in the degradation of the acetylcholine is called cholinesterase. There's in the brain, it's called we call true acetylcholine esterase. It's in the synapse and degrade the break down the acetylcholine into the choline acetate. And there's another type of cholinesterase called pseudocholinesterase. Usually it's in the blood, in the liver, and it's involved in the breakdown of choline ester drugs. And also to some degree, degrade acetylcholine in the bloodstream. So cholinergic neurons release acetylcholine from preganglionic neurons and also from parasympathetic postganglion neurons. So acetylcholine is present in both the sympathetic and parasympathetic system. Okay? But for the sympathetic system, it's only in the preganglionic neurons, not in the post. It can be excitatory or inhibitory depending upon the receptor type, and we can talk about tomorrow, and also what type of organs that is involved. Nicotinic receptors are the primary receptors that are located in the peripheral ganglion. So when the acetylcholine is released, nicotinic receptor is activated and cause excitation of the second neurons. Muscarinic receptors are often found in the effector tissues. So when in the postganglionic neurons, when the acetylcholine is released, the muscarinic receptor is activated and caused, which leads to the muscle constriction or relaxation. You probably already learned this, right? The nicotinic receptor, Mark probably talked about this. So the cholinergic receptor, nicotinic receptor, silicon-gated receptors, channel comes to it, and the iron can be, the sodium ion can be flow through the channels and cause excitation of the neurons. I don't have to talk about this. The nicotinic receptors are many different subtypes, depends on what subunit. In the alpha, beta, gamma, delta. This is a 5-unit component for the nicotinic receptors. It could be 2 alpha, 2 beta. Here's 2 alpha, 1 beta, 1 gamma, 1 delta. It could be 2 alpha, 2 beta, 1 alpha, 1 beta. So there are many subtypes of nicotinic receptors, and it's very complicated. In the post-ganglionic neurons, muscarinic receptors are the primary receptors that are bound to the acetylcholine. So it can be stimulated by acetylcholine or muscarine. It's a G-protein coupled receptor. The nicotinic receptor, so we can get it ion channel, right? This is a G-protein coupled receptor. What does that mean? Do you know GPCR? Did you guys learn? Okay. So it can be excitatory or inhibitory. It's slower acting than nicotinic. So most of the GPCR, all the GPCRs have 7 transmembrane domain span across the plasma membrane. Receptor type for muscarinic receptors is M1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They couple to different G proteins. So M1 couples to GQ, M2 coupled to GI. So M1, M3, M5 coupled to GQ, which are excitatory. Did you guys learn the GQ signaling pathway, phospholipase C activation?
We did last semester.
Did last semester, okay. Calcium, the PI3 conversion, okay. For the M2, M4, it's coupled to inhibitory GIGO. Basically, when I say inhibitory, it's an inhibition of cyclic AMP. So PIGO, it's inhibitory, inhibit adenocyclase activity. It's located on a presynaptic nerve terminal, so it's autoreceptors. What is autoreceptor? I know Tyler knows. Who else knows? What is autoreceptor?
Receptor located presynaptically, that when the neurotransmitter binds, it'll stop producing more.
Half right.
So it's like a feedback mechanism.
Right, but autoreceptors are located in the cell body and presynaptic. Okay, so in the cell body, what does it do? So when the autoreceptor is activated, what does it do? What's the function? You said a feedback, yes. So when the autoreceptor is located on the neurons, most of the time, 99% time, the autoreceptor, when we say autoreceptor, it has to be neuron type specific. When we say adrenergic autoreceptor, we're talking about the autoreceptors located in the norepinephrine neurons, okay? In the cell body of norepinephrine neurons and the nerve terminal of norepinephrine neurons. When we're talking about autoreceptor for dopamine neurons, we're talking about autoreceptors that are located in the dopamine neurons. So when autoreceptor is activated, what does it do is inhibit neuron firing, inhibit dopamine release. It's complete opposite of the postsynaptic receptors. So for the postsynaptic receptor, when you give agonist, initiate the signal transduction, it causes, constriction. The autoreceptor, it's opposite. Okay, inhibit neuron firing, inhibit the activation of the neurons if there's a stimuli, let's say electrical stimulation. Does it make sense? Okay, so it's the alpha 2 is predominantly autoreceptors. So it's a negative modulator of nerve activity. It's the inhibit neuron firing and the inhibit neurotransmitter release. The beta 1, it's a GX couple. It's excitatory. When the beta 1 is activated, it causes muscle contraction, predominantly in the heart and kidney. And beta 2, it's a GS couple, it's excitatory, and it's located in many different tissues. Beta 3, it's based on literature, it says a GS, but it's less defined. The physiology of the beta 3 is not clearly known, but it's present on the adipocytes. Regulate lipolysis. And here are the summary for the signal transduction of G protein coupling of the muscarinic receptors and the adrenergic receptors. There are a lot of information here. Let me finish. So I think for you to prepare the quiz is that understand what G proteins couple to receptors and where they're located. And if I say that, okay, you have this condition, overstimulated condition, what are the approach you can use to attenuate or strengthen the situation? So you don't have to memorize everything, but if you have this concept, then you can understand a lot of stuff. Even you don't know a disease state, but if I give you a description, say here there's overstimulation of smooth muscle contraction, and what are you going to do? What are the interventions you can use to counteract this? So these are basically the signal transduction is the mechanism for movement. We're diagram and writing the notes say, inhibit this will do this, activate this will do this. If I inhibit this, I can improve the situation. If I antagonize this effect, will